God has an agenda, and he wants us to take his stuff and use his stuff to accomplish his will. Can I say that one more time? He wants us, because he has an agenda, God wants us to take his stuff and to use his stuff to accomplish his will. Because God has an agenda. And in order for God to use us to do his will, God has to test us. I'm getting there, huh? They say, where are you headed there? So that's where I'm headed. In order for God to use us to do his will, God has to determine whether he can trust us or not with his stuff. How many of you will go out and buy a brand new car and give it to your 5-year-old child to go driving around in? As much as you love your child, the apple of your eye, you're not going to give the keys to that brand new Mercedes-Benz to that child. Why? Because you can't trust that child with it, even though you love him. Now, sometime in the future, you might turn those keys over to him after that child has proved to you, that he will be responsible with this car and accountable with this possession, right? Likewise, God has to test us to make sure that he can trust us with his stuff. And a lot of the reason that some of us are struggling is because God can't trust you with his stuff. Ooh, did I say that? I sound like Urkel now, huh? Did I say that? Look at somebody and ask them, can God trust you with his stuff? And when we find ourselves robbing Peter to pay Paul, that's not God's will for you. That's not God's will for you. When we find ourselves barely making it, living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, that's not God's will for you. That's not God's will for you. When we find ourselves struggling to see if we can make ends meet, that's not God's will for you. Huh? But the question is, what will you do with God's stuff? So God has to test us to determine if he can trust us to do his will with his stuff. How many people can God trust in here today? Come on and thank God that he can trust you, and put your hands together and give him praise.